It all started with a simple request, a welfare check. On a crisp autumn morning in Albuquerque, officers arrived at a quiet suburban home. The call came from a concerned family member who hadn't heard from their loved ones in days. The silence was heavy, unsettling. Police knocked. No answer. Mail and newspapers piled up outside, small signs that something was wrong. Officers forced entry, the sound echoing down the street. Inside, an eerie stillness. The air was thick, stale. They moved cautiously, announcing themselves. "Albuquerque Police! Is anyone home?" Only silence replied. Then, the discovery: 3 bodies found in separate rooms. A retired couple and their adult daughter, gone. The scene was brutal, a violation of everything a home should be. Safety, sanctuary, peace, all shattered. Officers secured the scene and called for backup. Homicide detectives were on their way. The welfare check had become a triple homicide investigation. As yellow tape went up, a single question hung in the air. Who could have done this? The city would soon be gripped by fear and uncertainty. The investigation was just beginning. The officers had no idea this would trigger one of the most intense manhunts the state had ever seen. The peace of the neighborhood was broken forever. The tragedy would ripple far beyond this quiet street. The search for answers had begun, and Albuquerque would never be the same. The nightmare was only starting. The victims, Giselle, Mike, and their visiting daughter, were beloved in their community. Their loss sent shockwaves through the neighborhood. People locked their doors, suspicion replacing trust. Detectives worked methodically, collecting evidence, fingerprints, fibers, anything the killer left behind. The house showed signs of a struggle, maybe a robbery gone wrong. But the violence felt personal. Investigators believed the killer knew the victims. That assumption shaped the investigation. Outside, neighbors mourned, leaving flowers and notes. Stories of kindness and laughter contrasted with the grim work inside. The crime stole more than 3 lives. It shattered the city's sense of security. Pressure mounted on police to find answers. The media camped out. The public demanded justice. Detectives interviewed family, friends, and neighbors, building a timeline of the victims' final days. Somewhere in that timeline, they hoped, was a clue. A name, a face, anything to lead them to the killer. The investigation was relentless. Every detail mattered. The city watched, waiting for a breakthrough. The loss was felt by all. The search for justice had become a citywide mission. The detectives knew failure was not an option. The community's trust depended on answers. The puzzle was dark and complicated, but they were determined to solve it. The victims deserved nothing less. The city's safety depended on it. The hunt for the killer intensified, and the first real lead was about to emerge. In every investigation, a name eventually rises to the surface. This time it was James Ellison, not a friend, not a neighbor, just a business connection. A minor financial dispute had put him on detectives' radar. Ellison, late 40s, a history of failed businesses and mounting debts. Some called him charming, others warned of his temper. He was desperate, feeling the world owed him. Detectives dug deeper, checking his alibis and records. The financial dispute was more serious than it first appeared. For Ellison, the money mattered, a lot. Could desperation over money lead to murder? Detectives knew it could. Ellison's name kept surfacing. The circle of suspicion tightened. But motive wasn't enough. They needed evidence. They re-examined the crime scene. Then, a breakthrough, a partial fingerprint on an out-of-place object. Not a perfect match, but enough for a warrant. Enough to bring Ellison in for questioning. But when police went to find him, he was gone. The suspect had vanished. The investigation shifted from finding a killer to hunting a fugitive. The manhunt was on. The city's anxiety deepened. Detectives raced against time. Every hour mattered. Ellison's disappearance raised new questions. The search for justice had just become a chase, and the stakes had never been higher. Detectives arrived at Ellison's apartment, empty, spotless, abandoned. His car and belongings were gone. He'd fled, knowing the net was closing in. The quiet search became a statewide manhunt. Police issued a bolo. James Ellison was now public enemy number 1. His face appeared on news, social media, highway billboards. The public was warned, do not approach. Fear gripped Albuquerque. Ellison was still out there. How did he know to run? Had someone tipped him off, or was he just watching the news? He had a head start, making him unpredictable and dangerous. Investigators scrambled, tracking his financials, credit cards, and ATM withdrawals. They questioned friends, family, anyone who might know his plans. Most were shocked, some were hesitant. Loyalties complicated the search. Every hour Ellison slipped further away. The manhunt became a race against time. The city's anxiety grew. The killer was still at large. Detectives pressed harder, knowing the trail was growing cold. The search expanded beyond state lines. The pressure was immense. The public demanded answers. The investigation was relentless. Every lead was pursued. The city waited, hoping for a break. The manhunt was now national. Ellison's escape had raised the stakes. The search for justice was more urgent than ever. The detectives refused to give up. The hunt continued, and soon, a new lead would emerge. The chase was far from over. Ellison knew how to disappear. He paid cash, used a burner phone, and kept moving. A gas station camera, 100 miles east, caught him on tape. Tired, scared, but still running. Investigators now had a direction east. The FBI joined the hunt, making Ellison one of America's most wanted. His face was everywhere: news, posters, truck stops. Tips poured in, most false, but everyone checked. Days passed, then weeks. The trail went cold. Had he taken his own life? Was he hiding out? Investigators dug into his past, searching for overlooked connections. Then, a detail. Years ago, Ellison worked a summer in rural Arkansas. He'd once called it a place you could get lost. It was a long shot, but the only lead left. U.S. Marshals were dispatched to the small Arkansas town. They were told to be discreet, to look for any sign of Ellison. The search shifted to new ground. The manhunt was relentless. The city waited for news. The net was tightening. The endgame was approaching. Albuquerque was paralyzed by fear. The murders and Ellison's escape haunted every corner of the city. The victim's family pleaded for help, their pain visible to all. Police updates offered little comfort. Rumors and false sightings fueled paranoia. The city was caught between horror and hope. Life went on, but fear lingered beneath the surface. Every stranger was a suspect, every shadow a threat. The question, "Where is James Ellison?" echoed everywhere. The city waited for closure. Only Ellison's capture could bring peace. The Arkansas lead was slim, but marshals followed it. In a small town, they quietly showed Ellison's photo around. Days passed with no luck, until a motel clerk recognized him. A man matching Ellison's description had checked in under a fake name, paid in cash, and kept to himself. He was still there, in room 112. Marshals set up surveillance, watching for hours. Then, the door opened. Ellison stepped out, thinner, hair longer, but unmistakable. The most wanted man in America was in their sights. Marshals waited, planning a safe approach. They coordinated with local police, set a perimeter, and prepared for a careful takedown. The risk was high. A shootout could endanger innocents. They needed the right moment. The final act of the manhunt was about to begin. Tension was at its peak. The city's hopes rested on this moment. The marshals were ready. The end was near. Every move was calculated. The pressure was immense. The nation watched. The standoff was about to unfold. Justice was within reach. The chase was almost over. At dawn, marshals moved in on room 112. They hoped for a quiet arrest, but Ellison was ready. As they breached the door, he opened fire from behind a mattress. The takedown became a dangerous standoff. Bullets tore through the motel walls. The area was locked down. Negotiators tried to talk Ellison out. "James, it's over. Come out with your hands up." But Ellison refused, defiant and desperate. The standoff dragged on for hours under the rising sun. The motel was evacuated. The nation watched. Marshals were patient, hoping for a peaceful surrender, but Ellison was determined not to be taken alive. Finally, a decision tear gas was deployed. The situation was critical. The risk to all was high. The end was imminent. The final confrontation was at hand. The manhunt's climax had arrived. Tear gas filled the room. Ellison stumbled out, weapon raised. Marshals fired. A final volley. Silence fell. James Ellison was dead. The manhunt was over. Relief swept Albuquerque, but joy was absent. The victim's family felt only somber closure. Justice had come, but the loss remained. Law enforcement's relentless pursuit had ended a nightmare. The city could begin to heal. The story was a stark reminder of how desperation can destroy lives. It was also a testament to the dedication of those who seek justice. Thank you for joining us. For more true crime stories, subscribe and stay informed.